This is a community-supported legal education channel. Find out how you can support our mission at the links in the description below.
So who remembers the big kerfuffle with Planned Parenthood and undercover video claiming that parts of children were being sold to medical companies illegally? It was a big conspiracy thing, and Planned Parenthood was supposedly involved in this giant conspiracy to sell tissues illegally from children who were, I can't say the word on YouTube, but there's lots of protests and things. Well, here is the end of the 2016 lawsuit against the people who took those videos surreptitiously. This order addresses plaintiff's unfair competition law claim arising under the California Business and Professions Code, Section 17,200, and a request for a permanent injunction, and the court enters judgment. We will see the final judgment in a moment. The trial commenced October 2nd, 2019, had a jury verdict which was overwhelmingly in plaintiff's favor. So plaintiff is Planned Parenthood. I now find in plaintiff's favor on the UCL claim, which was not apparently before the jury, and enter a permanent injunction and a judgment. There are a million different branches of Planned Parenthood listed here that I'm going to just skip. So the basic facts of the case are this. In late 2012, David DeLeiden traveled to Wichita, Kansas, the headquarters of Troy Newman's anti-abortion organization Operation Rescue, to discuss a plan to target Planned Parenthood through a series of undercover videos. In March 2013, DeLeiden formed the Center for Medical Progress, with Newman joining as a board member. DeLeiden was the CEO, Newman was the secretary, and someone named Romberg was the chief financial officer. CMP, once again, CMP is the Center for Medical Progress. Their plan was to create a video campaign known as the Human Capital Project against Planned Parenthood with the objective of creating maximum negative impact, legal, political, professional, public, to create public outrage towards Planned Parenthood through a series of undercover gotcha-style videos. DeLeiden set up a front company called Biomax Procurement Services. Biomax was organized as a vehicle to do large parts of undercover works. DeLeiden filed articles of organization for Biomax with the California Secretary of State, listing Susan Tenenbaum as its manager and signing her name. There is no such person. DeLeiden took significant steps to make Biomax appear legitimate. For example, he created a website. He noted the need to park domain and websites of the fake company. DeLeiden hired co-conspirators, Merritt and Lopez, to pose as Biomax officers and employees and to use false identities to infiltrate conferences and health centers to secretly film Planned Parenthood staff and others. DeLeiden created fake names and backgrounds for the purported Biomax employees, which he trained the CMP contractors to use. He created business cards and promotional materials. The promotional materials described Biomax as a biological specimen procurement organization headquartered in Norwalk, California. DeLeiden and CMP contractors distributed the business cards and displayed promotional materials at conferences. DeLeiden created or solicited the production of fake California driver's licenses with fake Biomax names for himself, Merritt, and Baxter. For his own ID, he used an expired driver's license and typed Robert Dowd Sarkis over his true name. Through Craigslist, he located a service in Southern California which he paid to produce phony driver's licenses with names like Susan Tenenbaum and Brianna Allen. DeLeiden had bank cards issued for Biomax under fictitious names and without the consent of the named cardholder. Romberg gave DeLeiden tips regarding taping strategies and the ultimate distribution of the videos. DeLeiden updated Romberg on a meeting with Planned Parenthood's staff and reported that Dr. Nuka-Tola had believed the lies that DeLeiden and Merritt told her. Romberg was aware that DeLeiden was using a fake name because DeLeiden called Romberg while in character from Planned Parenthood in Texas, identifying himself as Robert Sarkis. They used the same methods and strategies that Newman had discussed in his book, which he published advocating sting operations against providers. Daleiden began to register Biomax as an exhibitor at reproductive health conferences in 2013. Merritt attended a conference using the fake name Susan Tenenbaum and falsely claimed to be Biomax's CEO and founder, as she would continue to do at 2 North American conferences and private meetings with individual doctors and staff of various Planned Parenthood affiliates. At ARHP, Merritt met 2 employees of the National Abortion Federation. Oh, I guess it's not North American, it's National Abortion. As instructed by Daleiden, she told the NAF representatives that she was the CEO of Biomax, a startup tissue procurement company. In reliance on the fact that they had met Merritt at a reproductive health conference and her lies about Biomax, NAF staff invited Biomax to attend the 2014 NAF conference. Daleiden, Merritt, and Baxter checked in at the NAF's registration desk using their fake California driver's licenses. To protect the safety of conference attendees, NAF requires all attendees to sign confidentiality agreements that specifically prohibit making video recordings. They all signed the confidentiality agreement, promising not to make any video recordings, even though they intended to secretly record the entire time they were at the conference. They wore hidden video cameras and recorded everyone they spoke to at the conference. Daleiden introduced himself to Dr. Deborah Nucatola at the 2014 conference. He represented to her that he worked for Biomax and was a tissue procurement organization that was interested in developing relationships with affiliates. Daleiden, posing as Brianna Allen, emailed Vicky Graziani and the administrator for Planned Parenthood's Medical Services Department, asking to register as an exhibitor for the 2014 North American Forum on Family Planning. That's where I think I got North American from. Based on the false information that Dr. Nucatola passed along to Ms. Graziani and the fact that Biomax had attended the 2014 conference, they were permitted to attend the other conference. As a condition for participation in the other conference, exhibitors must confirm their exhibits are educational and informative, provide information about services useful to the provision of reproductive health care, and are beneficial to the interests of clients and patients. Daleiden, acting as Brianna Allen, acknowledged and therefore agreed to the terms and conditions. I guess it's a she. I guess Daleiden is a she. Subsequently registered Biomax as an exhibitor at 2 more Planned Parenthood conferences, falsely representing, I guess Brianna is a man's name in this case. Okay, I'm just screwed up by that, sorry. In doing so, he falsely represented that Biomax was a real tissue procurement company. Planned Parenthood requires all conference attendees to present photo identification. They used their fake driver's license at the registration desk. Daleiden identified himself as a representative of Biomax at the conference and distributed business cards with the fake name Robert Sarkis. Daleiden and Lopez wore hidden cameras at the conferences and secretly recorded everyone they spoke to. They registered for the 2015 conference and infiltrated the 2015 conference in April of 2015. Lopez signed a confidentiality agreement, but Daleiden simply told them he had signed it, and they believed him, and he was admitted without signing. After the 2014 conference, they invited Dr. Nucatola to lunch as Biomax representatives. Based on these false representatives, she had lunch with them. They both wore hidden cameras and recorded the lunch meeting. Then they met Dr. Mary Gatter and set up lunch with her. And then they met Laurel Felzer, and set up a meeting with them and wore hidden cameras. Then they sent an email to Dr. Savita Gind, sent her an email seeking a meeting and enclosing a copy of a Biomax brochure. She agreed to meet. They wore hidden cameras and filmed the entire thing. The doctor and her staff were unaware they were being filmed. They did not consent to the filming. Then they sent a follow-up email to Dr. Farrell, or someone named Farrell, who agreed to Melissa Farrell, head of research. So I'm assuming she's a doctor, and they met with her. She requested a non-disclosure agreement, and they signed it. But they intended to disclose the information they thought would be harmful to Planned Parenthood, and they recorded the meeting. They did not disclose this intent to anyone. They presented their fake IDs to Planned Parenthood. They recorded the entire meeting. They would not have been admitted to conferences or facilities had they not set up this fake name thing and had they disclosed their true identities and purposes. As a result, Planned Parenthood has incurred hundreds of thousands of dollars in costs, had to spend these hundreds of thousands of dollars to prevent additional infiltrations and revise its security protocols, and certain branches incurred costs for providing security to various individuals targeted by the defendants. Daleiden's goal in life's work is to end legal services like this in America. I'm just trying to limit the number of times I say the word. He has been an anti-activist since high school. Prior to forming the Centers for Medical Progress, Daleiden already had a years-long track record of creating undercover videos. He was proud of the conduct he engaged in, which he believed exposed plaintiffs' criminal activity. They operate a website which publicizes the names, photographs, and business addresses of providers, including Dr. Nucatola and Dr. Gatter. Newman has described providers as murderers in his book, and he called for their execution. Newman participated in a conspiracy described above because his goal is to finish off Planned Parenthood and end their services. He considers them to be a death machine. Others have similar aspirations highlighted here. CMP is still operational. CMP continues to have the same aims. They continue to post videos, including the summer of 2019 when posting a fundraising page to GoFundMe to raise money to pay a court-mandated fine related to the release of videos. They say they are releasing more videos soon and asserts that the money they were fined could have been instead used to produce more videos. Newman argues that the findings are improper because they rely on adverse inferences. Now, an adverse inference is in a civil case where you refuse to answer questions. The judge can assume that the answers you were going to give are adverse to you. The judge can infer that the answers you would have given had you answered would have been adverse. Based on the express and implicit findings the jury drew, adverse inferences against Newman on which the judge may rely, etc. So the UCL, what is it? I gotta go up and back to it. It is the unfair competition law. Thank you. So the unfair competition law authorizes the court to make such orders or judgments as may be necessary to prevent the use or employment by any person of a practice which constitutes unfair competition as defined by this chapter, or may be necessary to restore any person in interest, any money, property, real or personal, which may have been acquired by such unfair competition's use. It is an equitable statute in nature. The court must determine the unfair competition. The rest can get determined by a jury. So the judge gets to acknowledge the jury's findings of fact and then issue a judgment. There is evidence, some of it disputed, showing that defendants' intent and purpose was to set up Biomax as a fictitious company operating in a real industry in competition with other companies. There is evidence that defendants made misrepresentations to the California Secretary of State as part of setting up a front company, Biomax, as well as websites, business cards, and brochures. These acts by defendants on their face are business acts. There is also evidence, some disputed, that the purpose of both CMP and HCP was to run plaintiff's business out of business. So these allegations are sufficient to bring a claim. The evidence at trial confirmed the defendant's intent and purpose was to set up Biomax as a competitor tissue procurement company to position itself as a competitor with other tissue procurement companies in order to gain access and information that they would then use to seek the defunding and destruction of Planned Parenthood. They tried to say they're not businesses. The court disagrees. The jury found that defendants engaged in conduct which was sufficient to sustain the unfair competition claim. So they were asked to impose an injunction. I'm not going to go over the standard for the injunction. Instead, what I'm going to do is go over the actual finding. And the judge agrees that it's in the public interest and that there is a threat of immediate and future injury. The judge is going over how she can impose equitable remedies under the UCL, under the law of trespass, which is 48 pages long, which is why I'm not going over it. Florida recording statutes are in here as well. The judge goes over whether they can issue the injunction on behalf of all of Planned Parenthood and whether it can go against the individuals personally or just the company. So these are the conclusions of law then. The court and jury have expressly found defendants directly liable or liable as conspirators. The jury impliedly found that defendants' activities posed a threat of continued criminal conduct. My consideration must be consistent with the jury's findings. Plaintiffs are entitled to injunctive or equitable relief under the UCL that prohibits defendants from repeating their unlawful and fraudulent business practices. Equitable relief is warranted for plaintiffs' claims for trespass. This court has power and should enjoin the defendants from engaging in trespasses or unlawful recordings. The court has power and will grant injunctive relief in favor of the named plaintiffs who prevailed on claims. Injunctive relief should be granted against all defendants other than Defendant Lopez. The injunction should extend to all persons acting in concert, and the First Amendment does not bar the limited injunctive relief the court awards. And then there's a whole bunch of definitions of different Planned Parenthood branches. So we're just going to skip over that. The court enters judgment on each claim for damages as to all plaintiffs and all defendants for violation of the Rico Act. Now, if you follow Popat, you know that it's never Rico. He wrote a whole article about how it's never Rico. Well, guess what? This one reaches Rico. What is Rico? Rico is Racketeer-Influenced Corrupt Organizations Act, enacted in 1970 as part of the Organized Crime Control Act. It focuses specifically on racketeering and allows leaders of a syndicate to be tried for crimes they ordered others to do or assisted them in doing. It closes a perceived loophole that allowed a person who instructed someone else, for example, to murder, to be exempt from trial because they did not actually commit the crime personally. 33 states, I'm guessing including California, have adopted state RICO laws. So let's go to a summary. A person who has committed at least 2 acts of racketeering activity drawn from a list of 35 crimes within a 10-year period can be charged with racketeering if such acts are related in one of 4 specified ways to an enterprise. Those found guilty of racketeering can be fined up to $25,000 and sentenced to 20 years in prison per racketeering count. And then this is a lawsuit, so this is a civil lawsuit for violations of the RICO Act and other acts. The judge finds that, actually, it is a civil case, right? Yeah, CV. So
yeah, it's very rare to have civil RICO, and usually when people claim civil RICO, judges kind of roll their eyes. So the fact that this was successful is especially notable.
So they have won. So Planned Parenthood FA, I don't remember which each branch is, but one of the branches has won $1.259 million in RICO trebled actual damages. So the actual damages were 1/3 of that, and the judge multiplied it by 3. Another branch has $62,000 in damages, another branch $56,000 in damages, and another branch $27,000 in damages. And those are all just for RICO. On the federal wiretapping claim, there's $53,000 and $10,000 in statutory to PPFA, $21,000 and $10,000 in PPGC. These are all Planned Parenthood branches. 19,000 plus 10,000, 9,000 plus 10,000, and then everybody else is just 10,000 in statutory damages. Civil conspiracy is addressed individually below. I don't know where that's going to be. 4th claim, breach of contract for the exhibitor agreements, that's $420,000. For the NAF agreements, that's $50,000. For trespass, that's another $420,000. I think these add up. The individuals are liable for $1 to PPRM for some reason, and PPGC gets $20,000. And these are all, this is the individuals, by the way. This is Daleiden, Lopez, Biomax, and CMP, and Romberg and Newman are all liable for the $420,000. They're liable for business and professions codes violations, but I guess they're addressed later. Fraud is similar numbers, 420, 21, 19, and 9. the California Penal Code, 148,000, 20,000 in statutory, 27,000 and 20, 10,000 for the rest. And 10,000 for NorCal, and then the rest of these shall take nothing. California Penal Codes, nothing. Wiretapping is 50,000 and 1,000 statutory, 19,000 and 1,000, 9,000 and 1,000, and the rest are all 1,000 except for these who get nothing. Maryland wiretapping, 49,000 and 1,000, plus some smaller judgments. Then invasion of privacy, constitutional right to privacy, breach of contract. So the judge is removing duplicates and finding them liable for these actual damages. PPFA gets 1.259 million, 10,000 in federal wiretapping, 20,000 in California Penal Code, 1,000 in Florida each, in Florida, Maryland, statutory damages, and then others get other awards like 20, 10, and 10. Oh, this is actually that's the total 20, 11, 67, 11, 58, 11. Those are all separate judgments. 73,000, 11,000. And then the judge adds in punitive damages. Daleiden gets hit with 125 grand in punitive damages. Merritt gets 25,000 in punitive damages. Biomax 200,000, CMP 400,000, Newman 50,000, and Romberg 70,000. Those are bolstered by an award of attorney's fees as well. Then the judge issues an injunction that they shall not enter or attempt to enter a PPFA conference by misrepresenting their true identity or taking any audio, video, or photograph recordings, that they shall not record without everyone consenting to being recorded. And that is William Orrick. Oh, I guess I kept calling the judge she, sorry. So that's Judge William Orrick, United States District Judge for the Northern District of California. And that is how the Planned Parenthood baby parts lawsuit has been resolved, at least at this stage. I'm assuming that Biomax and CMP and Daleiden are going to fight it or something. I don't know, but they seemed pretty incredulous. But yeah.
And that's personal liability is what it looks like. So that's not like a corporate liability where
they can't get out of that.
You could dissolve the corporation or something.
They can't declare bankruptcy and get out of that either. Those were willful, tortious acts, and you can't get out of those in bankruptcy. So yeah, that happened, and that's how it took 4 years for the lawsuit to wind its way through. But I don't know if you remember the leaks or the original video that Daleiden put out there was very heavily edited and made Planned Parenthood look really bad, like they were in the business of selling the tissues from the procedures that they were performing. And maybe they can. Maybe there is a legal way for them to sell tissues, but that's not what the video was made to just document whether they sell tissues legally or not. It was meant to make them look bad. Whether the making them look bad was truthful or not, was legal or not, Daleiden didn't care. They were going to make Planned Parenthood look bad one way or the other, even if they had to use illegal and surreptitious means. So thank you for joining me, everyone. That is our show. I am Leonard French, your favorite sheltering-in-place copyright attorney. This is a community-supported legal education channel. Thank you so very much to those of you who are supporting our channel financially on a monthly basis on patreon.com/ljfrench or sponsors.com/law. Thank you very much to our May $50 plus supporters: Joe Tyson, Wes Delj, Nicely Done Defense, Video Remonetized, John Steele, Gavin Barnard, Eevi, Kyle Mudrak, Spirit Bear, Jan Negrey, Michael Pearce, Daniel Perez, Blackleaf, Benjamin Hitov, Steven, Ottah, Cute Grills in Your Area, Longreach Jones, Zachary Chaney, Mullen PC, Ugly Grill, Shielo T, Josh Baker, Gregory, and Rudolph Bescherer Jr. And thank you to the $5 plus supporters. Really appreciate all of you. I will see you in the videos that drop. Love you all. Have a great week. Bye.